Hello everybody, my name is King Quad. Hope you guys are having a phenomenal day. Today is a fantastic Friday. And bro, I gotta say, after watching Fantastic Four, I really want to talk about it. This video will be dedicated to my initial thoughts. I watched it last night, and obviously I'm gonna keep it spoiler free. I highly recommend, if you care anything about any of these characters, or comic books in general, the MCU moving forward, whatever it is, if you care at all about movies this year, I highly recommend you watch this, because dare I say, this might be top 3 movies of this year. I absolutely loved it. I want to jump straight into this, y'all. If you guys are new, subscribe today. And if you want a full spoiler mode video dedicated to this movie, let me know down in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to talk about it. But for this episode, it'll be entirely spoiler free. So let's get into it. First and foremost, the story is without any spoilers about the Fantastic Four. They've been doing it for a couple of years, and they are full in motion to being essentially Earth's protectors, right? And lo and behold, Galactus shows up. Silver Surfer, the Herald of Galactus, shows up. Shalla-Bal, and she introduces the idea of what Galactus is, something that's coming to devour Earth, so they have to prepare, and obviously the Fantastic Four are trying to stop it, right? They're going through their own personal story arcs, and a lot of their characters are already developed through this movie. You see a lot of them already gone through like the essential, crucial parts of their character, like Ben Grimm, aka The Thing, for example. He is really already coped with the idea of being like a rock person. And you see this with a lot of other Fantastic Four movies, or things in general, no pun intended, where the Thing himself is kind of trying to cope with this idea of being different, you know? And a lot of their powers in general are very representative of who they are. So like Mr. Fantastic, for example, really copes with the idea of being stretched too thin with his work and his family. There are so many different continuities where Reed Richards himself is going through essentially the choice of choosing, does he want to live a normal life with his family, or does he want to be part of something greater at the cost of his humanity, essentially, right? So you see a lot of the stress that comes with him being one of the smartest people ever. And a lot of the characters, like I said, are just, they're so good. One of the things going into this movie that I was really hoping to see expanded upon was Shalla-Bal, the Silver Surfer. Being a female was kind of like a, I don't even want to say a controversy, because I always thought it was stupid, but just the idea of something different in the minds of a lot of people. People usually think of Norrin Radd, the essentially original Silver Surfer, right? I don't even want to say he's the main one, because like, what even is that in comic book worlds? But he is like the one that people think about, right? Norrin Radd is kind of the Silver Surfer for a lot of people in their heads. So when they saw in the trailers Shalla-Bal was going to be the Silver Surfer, a lot of people were furious. All the talk about, you know, things being different in general, we're not going to get into that. But dare I say, I will be probably the first person that I've heard say it, is Shalla-Bal, I think, for the movie and what this story had to offer, I think Shalla-Bal was a better choice than Norrin Radd would have been. Like I said, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but without spoiling anything, I would say Shalla-Bal's character differs a lot from Norrin Radd's, in the sense that she shows a lot of what the toll is of being a Silver Surfer, and holding the power cosmic and being away from her original planet and serving Galactus forever, essentially, right? She copes a lot with that. And she is a little more emotional than Norrin Radd usually is. So seeing that represented in the movie, she shows that it is a toll. There is a great sacrifice that comes with being the Silver Surfer, let alone being a Herald of Galactus in general. And I think she killed it. I think all of the actors in this entire movie killed it. Galactus was exactly what I hoped for when it came to like a actual cinematic representation of everything. I'm talking about his character, his design, his aura, his use within the movie, the overall narrative, and how he contributed to it, and most importantly, his design, right? His voice actor, his actor, I should say, did a phenomenal job. Every single one of these people. I will be 100% honest going into this. I originally had my doubts about Pedro Pascal in general, being Reed Richards. I grew up with the early 2000s Fantastic Four, so this movie, in my eyes, had a lot riding on how I was going to compare it to the original. And, well, not the original, you know, the early 2000s, but I digress. I had a lot of concerns with that. I loved the originals growing up in the 2000s. I thought they were phenomenal. And looking back on them, you know, they definitely had their like cinematic flaws. But overall, I loved it. I loved it. That's a lot of the people in that movie is who I think of when I think of those characters. And for this movie, I think the actors did a phenomenal job capturing the essence of the characters instead of thinking about like how can we make this super comic book accurate, right? Because I'm a sucker for comic book accuracy. Going into this, the Thing's design in general was something that I really loved. I love like the big eyebrow line that he has. I love how his head shape and like everything about him just looked so true to like the Jack Kirby and Stan Lee comic books. So I thought it was a great touch that they did the designs that way. But of course, you got to make these characters stand alone from their comic book variants. You want them to be fitting into the overall story of the MCU. So obviously, they're not going to be like 30 years developed with all these different variants and storylines where they are all like their most powerful forms in general. And that's never been the way that the MCU has ever done anything. I would say the only exception to that, obviously other than Galactus because it's Galactus, might be like Thanos, where Thanos is just like the super overpowered character. But it literally took the culmination of 20 years of cinematic storytelling just for him to have a true opponent, which is the Avengers, all of them, every single one of them. Wanda is another character that's like always just kind of like super broken, so she's got to be broken, right? But even then, they don't treat her like a true overpowered character until her own story of Multiverse of Madness, right? I'm kind of going off track for a little bit, but I say all that just to say that these characters aren't going to be super overpowered in the way that a lot of people might think, but they are definitely powerful. And one of the main four in particular has their moment near the end of the movie where you are just blown away by how powerful they are. And they take a stand against Galactus. They are literally forced to. They have no other choice. And to see that, to see the feats is something that I truly like. I love to see. I love to see like when a character can do something as crazy as like, you know, comic book Hulk holding 2 continents together, or tectonic plates and stuff like that blows me away. And to see that in MCU movies, when you get a true grasp of like, this is an insane feat just in the terms of scaling a character, I am a sucker for that. And you get a lot of that in this movie. Silver Surfer, I think they did her justice. She was awesome. She had so much aura. She was aura farming every single scene. But overall, like just her presence and what she meant for the narrative, she was a perfect way of progressing it forward. And all of these characters, they just did a phenomenal job, right? To try to set myself aside from recency bias as much as I can, I will say that this movie is probably like a 9 out of 10. I'm not going to say it's a 10 out of 10 just because I feel like when I come across a 10 out of 10 comic book movie, I will know it instantly. And with this movie, I have no complaints, though. Like, just because it's 9 out of 10 doesn't mean that I think it could have been better in much regard. Everything about it was just phenomenal. The narrative, the characters, the story overall, and the way that it fits into the narrative going forward. The end credits, obviously, will always be something that people gravitate towards when Marvel movies come around. Like, I mean, that's... In general, when it comes to cinematography, people talk about end credits and they're like, what is this, a Marvel movie with end credits and cliffhangers and all that? I will say for this one, it definitely sets up Phase 6. So Fantastic Four in general is going to be the first movie in Phase 6, and all leading up to next year's Doomsday. And the post-credits for this movie, while I'm not going to say exactly what it is, something happens in the movie that introduces a character, and then at the post-credit scene, another character shows interest in the pre-established character throughout the film. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say who or what it's going to be, but just know that the introduction of 2 characters in this movie, not including the ones that you already know about, will set up for probably the entirety of the MCU moving forward. They are very, very important, significant characters. And if you know about the comics, you probably will naturally understand what's going to happen moving forward. But just keep in mind that there is going to be a lot of power moving forward. That is it for today, y'all. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is King Quad. If you want a full spoiler mode video dedicated to my thoughts on the Fantastic Four, let me know down in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to provide that. But I wanted to just get this off my chest. If you guys are having any idea at all, like you have show any interest in watching this movie, go watch it. Phenomenal movie, phenomenal comic book movie, phenomenal Marvel movie, phenomenal movie in general. It was very touching. I got emotional a couple of times, especially when Reed Richards was just talking about how he views everything and how he kind of copes with being an all-intelligent person that all these people rely on. It was awesome. It was awesome. Every single actor killed it. Every single actor killed it. Go watch it. It was a phenomenal movie. 9 out of 10. Maybe 9.5. But I'll think about that more. Have a great day. I'll stay safe. Take care. Peace. Adios. Enjoy your weekend. Go watch this movie because you have to. And of course, until next time, bye-bye, y'all.